thank you so much for joining us. Before we kick this off, I do want to point out to the audience that we welcome questions. Please post them in the Q&A section at the bottom of your screen during today's discussion, and we will address those at the conclusion. So I'd like to now turn this over to Steven Saltzstein, Force Family Office's CEO.
Thank you, Callie, and thank you everyone for joining. We have a fantastic symposium for you about travel and media and a new paradigm in the industry, which is, I find to be incredibly exciting. You know, when I think of NextTrip, I actually think of ChatGPT, OpenAI, because I don't know if a lot of you know this, but OpenAI started from a mistake. They accidentally left their servers on overnight. And when they came in the next morning, this is what Sam Altman said, it started, they thought in a way, a little bit thinking for itself. And that created the whole revolution. In the same way that Bill and Richard, during the pandemic, they were in the travel business and nobody was traveling, and they had to completely reinvent a new paradigm. And, the one thing I want to start with about the company is that they make more money from media than they do from travel. And it's just so incredible. So to begin with, Bill or Richard, I don't know who wants to take it, but tell us about the company. Tell us about NextTrip.
I guess I'll take it to start with. You're absolutely right. Thank you, Stephen. We did come up with the idea of creating a media platform in order to help us gather an audience, and with the audience then they could ultimately click through and purchase travel. And that's to compete with what everybody knows in the travel industry, which is that there's two monster players, Expedia and Booking.com. They have huge budgets. They spend $5 to $10 million a day in advertising in order to drive consumers into what we refer to as the bottom of the funnel, the moment when they're ready to transact. That's when they want to capture those people to go forward. And if you're going to run a travel business and compete with somebody that's got those kinds of dollars in order to drive consumers into the bottom of the funnel, then it's going to be a rough ride. And so that's where we did get into the media side, where the theory was that we would create our own audience, our own following. We would allow them to nurture their dreams, their expectations of what they wanted to do with travel, do the planning stages, get and put together for a vacation, because a vacation is the most important time of the year for most people. That's when they go to recharge, reset, to learn to get to the point where they remember how to be human again, so that they can come back and be more productive when they come back to work. And so we thought taking this whole planning stage where you could go and experience and get the proper vacation put together to reset yourself was really important. And that's where, Journey TV came in as such a great asset for us, because it started with about 17 million viewership to it, along with the travel magazine. And so, as you rightly pointed out in the introduction, Steve, the margins in the media side of it are 10 times that of the margins in the travel side. So while we would love to do $100 million in travel sales, we would do just as well if we did $10 million in media sales. And so the focus has been, of course, to build out our media side and cause that funnel to take place where we own the consumer from the top of the funnel down to the bottom of the funnel. That's really important, because if you deliver all kinds of value to a consumer and you're not jamming a product down their throat, they're going to be your consumer for years, not for the one moment that you're transacting, like you would see in some of the competition where decisions are made based upon an airfare that's $2 cheaper. So
and in addition to that, as we look at the younger generations that become the bigger spend in travel, they approach things in a completely different manner. And so they're always on screens. They're always looking at content. That's where they live. And so not only does this Journey channel engage them there with the type of content, the experiential, the cultural type shows that they love to watch, we have this proprietary technology in-house, which is an overlay, which is why we talk about this intersection of media and travel. So not only can they go there, look at these shows that they're passionate about, that they want to watch and stream, but we have the ability to engage them into our booking solutions, whether it's 5-Star Alliance that we own, the ultimate luxury hotel platform, or it's our NextTrip booking engine. The overlay technology can throw up coupons, it can throw up QR codes, it can discounts to the resorts in an engaging manner. So it's not like the regular commercial break that you get. It's kind of softly deployed on the screen, relatively transparent, and engages you while you're watching the show. So we're also building a brand affinity in this audience that we have. And what we
Richard, it's funny because you make me realize, you guys are very lucky in the sense that there aren't all that many industries that have inspiration and fear of missing out built into the offering, right? It's like cooking and yeah, I mean, I can't think of other, and it's so great because whereas other businesses have to spend millions of dollars on the media, for them as a loss leader, for you is a high margin winner.
But that's exactly it. And again, we don't have to be the ultimate booking solution for them, because again, there's higher margin in the advertising side in this dual revenue model of media and the intersection with travel. So some of the partners that we announced just a couple of weeks ago in a press release, they're advertising, specialty advertising in this overlay solution. And the traffic as it clicks through is actually going into their booking solution on their websites versus ours. But we're fine with that. We get advertising and specialty advertising, regular conventional advertising, programmatic advertising, banner ads, and getting our name out there because everything is powered by NextTrip.
Bill, why does this model make sense now? Like what assets have you brought together that you finally have an opportunity for real margin expansion?
Well, I think that what's happened most importantly, Steve, is that technology has caught up to the dream. Years ago, tried to enact a similar kind of model, and we couldn't get technology to do what we needed to do in terms of going forward. And so now you're at the point where everybody's life is on a cell phone. It's an absolute panic if you think you've lost your cell phone. And so you now have technology solutions that allow you to watch, engage, and purchase on the spot.
So I just want to understand, because Richard, before you were talking about, well, we have this overlay, we have this technology overlay, and Bill says, finally the technology, has caught up to the dream. So can you help us better understand what that layer looks like?
So the screen shows these overlays. So you're watching, this would be a video running in the background. You can still hear the TV show going, but you can see this tasteful application on the left side, a 30% off the resort that you're watching. There's click-throughs, there's QR codes that we can do. We could run it for 5 seconds. We can run it for a minute. Again, our team kind of pushes this. It's a proven overlay technology. And kind of let me just circle back here. The guys that designed this technology are now our in-house media and technology group. They built one of the most successful, biggest ecosystems out there for one of the biggest gaming companies, Electronic Arts, EA Sports.
Wow.
And this is what they've brought to us, is this overlay technology. They were there in the design of the FIFA system when it first came out for Electronic Arts. They were the product team, and then they got into media after that. So they're kind of the ones that are helping us design and bring this entire ecosystem where we're engaging with the traveler or the consumer, where they're getting inspiration, dreaming, or they're just watching shows because that's what they want to do. They're binging something. And the shows, we've got our own licensed content we bring in from others. We've got some exclusive content, and we're coming with more exclusive content too that you can only see here. Currently, you can find it on Plex.
Tony, I feel like you guys are building the next trip of the Netflix of travel.
Absolutely, that's exactly it. We have already launched our video on demand solution. We've got Android apps coming. We've got iOS apps coming. Again, our technology team, they bring this incredible user interface that we don't think is being applied in a number of other places. So when we took over Journey just a few months ago, people are already seeing that the presentation, the look, the feel is improving dynamically. And it will be available in a lot more places. And one of the other things here, and I think this validates exactly where we're going, there were a couple of guys at Sony that spun out of Sony several years ago to form KC Global Media. When I say they were at Sony, one of them was the president of Sony Global Television. The other one was, I think, executive vice president. They took Sony assets, they pushed English content into Asia. They have been brought to us. They've done a joint venture with us. One of them has joined our board of directors. They've made a strategic investment in us, and they're taking our Journey channel and our Journey content and going to start pushing it later this year into their solutions and their channels in 30 countries in Asia. The current viewership.
Well, I'm curious, when they came to you, like, what did they say that they really wanted? What did they say that you guys are doing better than anybody else?
I'll let Bill, but kind of what in my brief conversations with them, it was this travel content that everyone, that's what they want. They're passionate about those types of shows. And so it was all content. But as we got deeper into the conversation of, we've got this booking solution, this content to commerce, this scan, book, go, that no one else has, that obviously we can monetize, that no one else is doing beyond just advertising.
Yeah.
Bill?
Yeah, so I'll just pick up on the points that Richard made. So at the top of the list was the area that we were in, which is travel. Travel is a passion play. And so if you want to engage people, if you want to keep them involved with you for a long period of time, you want them in an area where they're passionate about. So travel fit the mark. Then Richard talked about the overlay technology or the content to commerce solution. And yes, it's a wonderful solution. And it's not like there's other people in the world that can't do it. But what's really unique about what we're doing is the fact that we're actually travel experts. And so that gets lost in lots of ways. When you're running a media company, a television network, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're an expert within the travel industry. We have hundreds of suppliers that work with us. So it becomes a very easy task to go to those suppliers and say, hey, would you be interested in going to the next level where we can run advertising for you and we can feed the consumer who's interested through at the moment in time in order to transact either on our platform or on your platform.
So can you give us more color on Journey and on Travel Magazine? I want people to understand, like, those assets specifically.
Well, and I'll start with Travel Magazine because of the fact it was kind of the thing that originated all this. During the pandemic, we had a domain name called Travel Magazine, and we were posting articles and blogs and some videos on it. And we hadn't, quite frankly, done a lot with it. The pandemic hit, and it's like a nuclear bomb went off, and everything in travel just stopped. But interesting enough, while everything else stopped, we noticed the activity on this site went from a few thousand people looking at it every month to over 100 to 200,000 people looking at it every month. And that was kind of the eureka moment where we said, hey, we've got to get engaged with the consumer at a much, much earlier stage than what we have been in the past. And so that was the build out of the Travel Magazine website. And what you can see just based upon today's announcement is the whole site has been completely rebranded. It's got advertising capabilities. It's cross-connected into all of our other platforms to go forward. And it's moving into the second phase generation, which we hope to have released before we get to the end of the year, where you can not only go in and plan your vacation and research, but we'll be able to create a video of your vacation before you go using AI. And so that becomes a very sticky platform.
That's
for
so
people.
interesting. So you could actually, yeah. So if you're going to Italy next summer and you're going to do a tour of the Dolomites, you could actually see what you're going to see before you get there and before you book it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and one of the other things of Travel Magazine at this point, it's got AI tools which kind of populate additional information around articles. So when we get bloggers to come in here and put up their articles, it's a good blogging article, but all of a sudden it will tell you what the population is, what's going on in the region, what are some of the activities available. All of this comes in that the blogger may not have thought about, that's positioned around it. And because of that, we're kind of building this also into a marketplace where, you think of someone like a Travelzoo that's out there. This could be a direct competitor to Travelzoo because of all the deals and offerings that we have. We can go high end through our 5-Star Alliance, which is the luxury kind of lodging company that we own. You can go to kind of more middle tier, low tier with everything that the feeds that we have from NextTrip. And additionally, with the overlay technology, and because we're so now immersed in this media, we'll be going short form video in here with the influencers, because again, the influencers on their TikTok channels, on the YouTube channels, they get advertising revenue. That's it. But with us, if they actually bring that consumer come through our site, we can give them attribution that if there's a booking that occurs, because we can do overlay on their blog or their podcast, their short form video that they put in Travel Magazine, we can give them participation in an actual transaction. They're not getting that anywhere else. So we may be one of the first sites and programs to actually take influencers and be able to give them a whole different model, additional model of monetization on top of their advertising model.
And then the second part to your question is Journey TV, Steve. And Journey TV is a television channel, but it's more than a television channel. It's a FAST channel, which stands for free advertising supported streaming TV, the YouTubes of the world, the Rokus of the world. It's on Samsung, which is the granddaddy of all of the big platforms for these kinds of channels. And that's where we have the 17 million viewership. And that's where Richard was saying, as we've done this deal with KC Global Media, it's going to expand our viewership into about 160 million households very shortly. And you know what happens to advertising revenues when you get those kinds of eyeballs on your channel. And so it becomes the premier asset in order to attract people to travel. And then we can feed them through to Travel Magazine. We can feed them through to the actual booking, the concierge services, rewards programs, and to our suppliers and customers around us. So it's kind of...
Is this the biggest difference between you and the OTAs?
I think it's the top difference, yes, Steve.
Right.
So, and an OTA can come to us, Steve, of which we're already seeing that, and want to be an advertiser in our ecosystem, right? Especially as it grows and gets bigger. So think about it. You turn on your TV, you're watching some show, you're watching a movie, Expedia's advertising, Booking.com's advertising, Carnival Cruise Lines is advertising. They want to get to the consumer. And again, I come back to, we can be agnostic on the booking side and say, okay, Carnival, you want us not to book it? We'll send them directly to whatever site you want to. Or Expedia, you want them going into your funnel system? Fine, because we make the money on the advertising side. It's this dual revenue model. That's the differentiator. And all of a sudden, we can see ourselves, again, we're in the tens of millions of viewers today. We expect to be pushing into the 100 million viewers by sometime next year.
Let me ask you this question, Richard, which is, because you guys control the inspiration funnel, do you think that will translate into higher ticket bookings?
I think it's going to trigger into more bookings, whether it's higher value bookings. That remains to be seen, but definitely more bookings, because again, if you think about it and you are an advertiser, like Richard mentioned, Carnival Cruise Lines or Royal Caribbean Cruise Lines, well, where are you running your ads? And so at the end of the day, you're running your ads in front of the national news, or you're running your ads in front of, talk shows. How about running your ads in front of people that have already voted for the fact that they're interested in travel and they're watching travel content?
And let's talk about, will this get added bookings in some of these tuck-in acquisitions that we've done, Steve? Again, we acquired 5-Star just a few months ago. 5-Star, well-known agency out there, caters to the high-end luxury travel with their resort work. They get 100 or 500,000 unique visitors to their website a month. They've been doing this for a couple of decades.
Wow.
Since they've now come inside us, we've brought an advertising solution into their website so that we can get ad revenue for all of those consumers coming through, get them into our ecosystem. Oh, until they became a part of NextTrip, when someone would go through their funnel and say, you know what, those hotels you're offering in Hong Kong at $800 a night, they look great, but that's a little too rich for me. The 5-Star team would kind of pass them off and say, well, come back if we can help you another time. Now what they do is they say, oh, let's just flip you here into our NextTrip. We've got 32 other properties within a few miles of those hotels here in Hong Kong that are 20%, 30%, 50% discount in pricing. And so we are now seeing this compounding effect of more bookings coming out of acquisitions that we had made that typically wouldn't have done those bookings because of this combined offering platform and technology that we have. And the platform that we acquired, the Book It technology, that was one of these casualties in the pandemic. So people may say, well, how are you guys going to be able to scale? How do you know this was doing? Book It was doing 500 million in travel transactions annually going into the pandemic and was the casualty. So we took it over. Our board of directors, which has put in close to $18 million over the last couple of years to kind of help fund and get this all pulled together and give this incredible structure, cap table that we have. We're still lean on the balance sheet, but that's because we're the majority owners of this, and we're trying to pull this together, show to Wall Street, show to the investment community, this thing is scaling. They'll see that as we come with our second quarter numbers and our third quarter numbers. Again, we're expecting this compounding effect based on acquisitions that we've made. So we are much further down the pathway in business than I think people understand. It's why we kind of are with you talking about it and getting out to more investor conferences this year.
So one thing I'm realizing now is it's almost that you have two customers. You have the B2C customer, and you also have the B2B customer, right?
Very much. Yes.
And then where do group booking? Do you do groups? I mean, is that material for you?
Yeah, it's becoming very material for us. What we did is we developed a groups platform, and I always use an analogy of your daughter's getting married, and all of a sudden it's your responsibility to help coordinate 150 of your closest friends to an island.
Right.
Yeah, simple, easy task, right? You're sure glad you're married and your wife can handle it, because you're going to implode on it.
Right.
And so what we've done is we developed a groups booking platform that allows us to be able to come in, create a widget, create a solution that can drop on a website or set up a page for somebody. And we can block off all the things that they don't want, and we can add in all the things that they do want. So if they want to center everybody into one hotel, 2 hotels, they can do that. If they want to allow people to go to any hotel, if they want to help them with their airfares, with activities that they want to do as a result of coming to that particular destination, we have the tool that does that. That is an area that is not actively done in travel at this point in time, because it causes you to have to do some form of high touch at some point in time in order to complete the transaction. And the big players are not interested in the high touch solutions. They're interested in the fast flow through, never touch a booking, because they're just pushing through volume. And so that leaves that whole area wide open to us. And so with that tool that we had, we ended up being put in touch with this TA Pipeline group that Richard has up on the screen. And TA Pipeline, strangely enough, is a group of about 65, 70 agencies at this moment in time that use this platform in order to come in and largely book destination weddings. And so they looked at what we had and said, geez, this is going to make our job easier, faster. We probably can get better margins as a result of what we're doing. And they bring some girth to us as a result of the fact that, you know, we think that they'll just left to their own devices do about $10 million in sales this year. But we think with the things that we can add into it, that we can increase those sales significantly.
And again, this compounding effect I'm talking about of these acquisitions that we've done. So they had about 60 or 65 agencies that are their customers that generate this revenue for them. They've grown by word of mouth. They've never put a dime into advertising. Again, it's what we find in the travel business is they're content with their business and their returns. We will now take them from 65 agencies to some multiple of that, using it based on introductions in our network. And additionally, they had relationships with about 60 resorts in Mexico and Caribbean, which is where they pushed their client base to. We have direct relationships with about 100 to 150 other resorts or properties in very close proximity to those. So again, what it does for TA Pipeline, for their offering, for their client base, is it gives them more choice, more selection. They've got an RFP tool. So again, we can see through advertising, through relationship introductions, through the technology that we have being implemented into everything that they do, a compounding effect. And so their 8 or 10 million annualized revenue run rate that we've acquired, we think we're going to be able to do significantly more from that. So again, it's this compounding effect of TA Pipeline, of Journey coming in here, the expansion with KC Global Media into other markets, with the acquisition of 5-Star and the ability to push and transfer between their high-end customer into other opportunities that we have. It's a great system.
You know, next time we should, because obviously we're family office ground zero, we should get 5-Star on next time and talk about what a family office can expect, you know, if they want to book their family office holiday travel, etc.
It is one of the differentiators, again, if we come back to the OTAs that you talk about, which are point, click, book, not a lot of service on the big giants. We have, because of the acquisition of 5-Star and because of the acquisition of the Book It platform, we have call center staff that handle very high-end curated travel, that handle broader travel. Again, makes it a little different because not only in our media solutions and our travel offering solutions, you have an ability to talk with a person, which may give you a higher conversion rate, and also does away with some of those frustrations when you book through Booking or Expedia and something changes with your travel and, oh my God, I've got to work out how I'm going to shift this and change this and get money back or redeploy. So a lot of opportunity. And, you know, we haven't even touched on pay delay. I mean, we can talk for hours about the solutions that we have. It's quite exciting, and it's why we want to get out there.
I want to go to audience questions because I want to give them a shot. So I'm going to let Callie take over.
Great, thank you. You had mentioned Expedia and Booking as competitors and leaders in the online travel sector. How difficult would it be for them or other OTAs to move in on and capture the media side of your business?
They probably have to buy our Journey channel. There aren't a lot of, you know, we're the hunter out there, but at some point when we prove out this system, we're going to be the hunted. Reason being, we've already got this footprint now that is expanding. How do they go out? Yeah, they've got lots of money, but they've got to go out, build the delivery system, get the distribution system, get the licensed content, find original content. We are getting original content because our in-house staff, the Save Your Day Films, are extremely well known, have done lots of work. So people like Gordon Ramsay, that I think many of you know, they do a lot of his exclusive work. People like Bear Grylls, they do a lot of his exclusive work. There's a lot of others. So how do we do these originals? Well, we go out and we pre-sell it to tourism boards. We sell it to airlines. We sell it to the resorts. They pay for the production. We do the production ourselves. They get advertising in the perpetuity of the life of the replay, but we can advertise programmatically for others, banner advertise, we can overlay advertise, so many other ways for us to monetize.
Yeah, but it also, just to add to Richard's point, Expedia, Booking.com have built themselves through strategic acquisitions, lots and lots of acquisitions. And at the end of the day, they've let others prove out that the model works, and they've moved in and taken over those companies. And most people don't know how many companies actually are out there, where Expedia, as an example, may have 30 different brands, and people don't know that those brands are all owned by Expedia. So we do think that there's an opportunity we do this right.
We certainly are the first mover, and we will have significant expansion over the next weeks, months, and the next couple of years in this space. Significant.
Great, thank you. And what is the long-term plan for the content? Example, the travel magazine, journey, editorial side of the business.
Well, again, it's to largely create original content or proven shows that are out there that people have an affinity to want to be able to see. But one of the advantages that we have, and I'm just picking up on a theme that Richard talked about, is we have the ability to go out and create specific programs on travel that people may not be terribly familiar with, but be very intrigued with. I just came from a signature conference, and I was telling Steve about this earlier, but there was an auction that was taking place, and one of the products that was being auctioned off was the ability to go to the magnetic North Pole on this fabulous icebreaker ship that can go through 15 meters of ice in order to get you to the North Pole. Not an inexpensive event in order to be able to go on the ship, but at the end of the day, fascinating in terms of the footage that's taking place, where I think there's people that would love to learn about something like that, and then eventually experience it for themselves. And that's where you can get the companies to come in and support us by creating original content of things that are events, opportunities, travel that people are going to want to experience and learn about.
Great. And you have made several acquisitions lately. How has this impacted your balance sheet?
For the most part, it's been very positive in terms of how it's impacted the balance sheet. What we've done is the acquisitions have all been done by a combination of cash and equity. We weren't just looking for specific acquisitions. We were looking for acquisitions where the partners wanted to come and be part of this. And so, yes, there are changes that take place when you integrate new platforms and programs into your existing programs. But if you have founding members, owners that are now shareholders in the company, then they get the idea that 1 and 1 makes more than 2, and they're going to do better in terms of their share ownership than they are in the cash that they took out of the business. And so all of the acquisitions we've done have all had an equity component to them, and all have strengthened our balance sheet.
And when do you expect to be cash flow positive?
Yes, the $64,000 question, but we think that we'll be cash flow positive sometime between the next 90 and 180 days. And it really comes down to how quickly some of the programs ramp. But early indications are, and without, giving away hard numbers, what I found interesting was in the month of July, we did more business than we'd done in the whole previous year. And the month of August redoubled from the month of July. And so we're seeing this tremendous ramp starting to take place as all of these programs start to interact with each other. And we're just scratching the surface. So if we get really lucky, it will happen in the next 90 days, realistically between the next 90 and 180 days.
Great. And what percentage of your revenue is currently from the media advertising side of the business? And what do you expect this to be going forward?
The media side will, I don't want to say always have smaller revenues than the travel side, but it should have smaller revenues than the travel side. But what we would target for is that we would get to the point where about 15 to 20% of our revenues would come from the media side. 75 to 80% of our revenues would come from the travel side. So when you go back and look at the margins, one had 90% margins, one with 10% margins, you can start to figure out that 20% of the revenues coming from the media side will contribute more to the bottom line than 80%.
The media side starts to ramp with the launch of Travel Magazine now and the push with these travel influencers. It's a program that we put in place with the rebranding of Journey that we've just done over the last 30 days since our acquisition. And now, with video on demand apps going out, iOS apps going out, Android apps going out, the relationship with the KC Global Media being pushed into 30 new countries. So viewership is going up, many multiples over the next 90, 180 days. And again, this is why Bill has the comfort and the company has the comfort that we're transitioning not only on the business front that we've done with these tuck-in acquisitions and people will see the revenues, but the actual trend from a burn. We've spent a lot of money in professional fees, getting through the reverse merger. We've spent a lot of money in professional fees for the acquisitions, in the build of a lot of these assets. And as that kind of now starts settling back down, we're starting to see the business lifting and some of these higher margin areas really starting to ramp with viewership.
Great, thank you. And how secure is your data?
Our data is quite secure because of the fact, as an example, with our merchant accounts, we never hold any of the merchant information. We put them with outside groups that hold them. They separate all of the data so that names don't link to credit cards. They don't link to expiry dates or anything. So if somebody wanted to come in and hack our site, as much as we hope that that never happens, they would not end up getting any customer data at all.
Great. And how do you handle seasonality and volatility in demand?
That's really where the media side of it comes in incredibly well, because what happens is it smooths that whole program out completely. As we probably all know, summer vacation is the biggest booking season just because of the fact that that's when children are off school and people can go on their vacations to go forward. So you get this huge peak that takes place between spring break and summer vacation in the travel industry. And that's where probably 60% of all travel business ends up getting booked. When you get into alternative products like groups travel, like TA pipeline, like destination programs, all of a sudden you fall outside of that and you have a better spread of your travel business. But when you get into the media side of it, you have a much more consistent program with media. So it really smooths out the peaks and valleys of the travel business.
And again, it's a differentiator, right? Because we've got this dual revenue model. And if there's a recession, something in who knows what goes on politically, We have the revenue side of the dreaming and binging and watching this content and monetizing that, while travel may drop off. So we think our model, from a modeling perspective and an investor perspective, is superior to individual online travel agencies.
Great. And what conversion rates from content views to bookings are you projecting?
It is a projection at this point in time, but at the end of the day, what we would expect to take place is if somebody makes the effort to click through from our television network into a product, that we would probably have a conversion rate that would come in somewhere between 12 and 20%. And that is a really good conversion rate for what it is that we're trying to accomplish.
And then can you talk a little bit about your leadership team and their experience in the travel sector?
Yes, I can. What we've tried to do is we've tried to pull in some superstars in terms of the development work that we've been done both on our board and in our team. Richard did talk about the guys that came in from Electronic Arts, which has been hugely important for us. And that's where we have Loic, who is our Chief Product Officer and serving as our Chief Technology Officer right now, driving a host of technology development projects that's pages long, and making great progress with the launch of our platforms today, from Travel Magazine and Journey TV, and all the programs starting to be integrated for each of the websites. Behind Loic is the technology part. We have the media side with Ian Sharp, who is our Chief Operating Officer in media. Again, came out of Electronic Arts, has a media and television background to him. So this is, familiar territory for him in terms of building out a unique travel channel for us. Ian gets to lean on travel expertise within the company. So you have John McMahon, who we brought in as our Chief Operating Officer Travel, that heads up NextTrip operations and heads up TA pipeline operations and heads up 5-star operations. And so again, John has contacts throughout the industry that his Rolodex is deep and broad and is well respected within the industry, and becomes a natural feeder for somebody like Amy, who is our Chief Revenue Officer, who can now start to not only use her vast experience, having been in the travel industry for 20 plus years, but also be able to use John's Rolodex in order to be able to accelerate travel programs, travel and media advertising programs. And so across the board, we've got key players in each area that can really start to move the needle for this company.
Great, thank you. So that concludes the questions from the audience. For the audience, if you do have additional questions or want to be connected to the team at NextTrip, please reach out to me. Everyone out there has my email address. I'm happy to facilitate that. In turn, they will have all of your information as well and will be reaching out. I do want to turn it back over to you, Bill and Richard, for any final words before we close out.
No, I think it's a very exciting time. The enthusiasm internally, the seating of the new board of directors. That I circle back here and say, collectively they've invested close to $18 million into the company over the last 2.5 years. They're all very sizable stakeholders in the company. They're not here for something on the short term. They're very excited of us disrupting this travel space, especially this media and travel intersection, the opportunity. We are the hunter. We're out there looking for additional acquisitions. I think the market is going to come to understand in the months ahead that not only were we prudent buyers with these acquisitions, we're getting significant returns on top of what they were doing because of the cross leveraging and opportunities compounding on each other. We're looking for more things in the media space and the travel space. As our currency improves, and we certainly will be out there in the weeks and months ahead raising awareness now that we've got these acquisitions kind of tucked in, that the business is now starting to perform and grow, and that we're through the reverse merger nightmare that we had to get through with the regulators to get NextTrip public. So it is a very exciting time, and we want to broaden awareness and use our currency so that maybe the next travel acquisitions are not 5 or 10 million revenue books, but maybe 20 or 30 million revenue books, and finding some more content and technology on the media side that will fit in well. That's what we're looking for.
Yeah, and I'll just add to what Richard said. I mean, a lot of people, I think, feel like we've been sitting here revving the engine now for about 2 years, trying to put this in gear and get ready to go. We have acquired the key assets that we needed. We have built the primary technology solutions that we needed. So we really are now at a true starting point. And I think that we're going to surprise a lot of people with the revenue acceleration that's going to take place in the company over the next 6 months' time. We got here because of the fact that our directors, and in particular our chairman, saw the vision and agreed to fund us through without getting into any real toxic debt scenarios or exploding warrant scenarios, or all the things that small companies get into that really destroy their cap structure before they actually get the chance to put some real revenues on the board and accelerate their income. And so we've been very lucky that we've been able to avoid those pitfalls and bring what I think is a pristine capital structure to the table that is now starting to execute. So it's a great time to get involved.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.